and you want to make sure you've communicated to them like, hey, here's my intention for this shoot. Here's who's coming. Here's how I want them to feel. Welcome to this episode of Think Like a Producer. This is something we have a lot of experience in. It's about how to set up a good set for an interview. And obviously we're in the studio this season. We're showing you higher production quality. So we're going to show you literally how we have set up hundreds of interview style content shoots. If you've been listening and watching the show for a while, you know Tiff and I met years ago when we both lived in LA and worked on a big celebrity podcast together. And that was an in-person interview style show in a studio in LA. So we have done this a lot. And granted, it's different when you have a dedicated studio and that's the only thing that room is used for, and we were able to customize it. But you know, that studio changed over time. Sometimes Tiff would go on location with the host of that show and travel and need to record in other places. So we've done it a few times. And there's a few things to know if you're setting up for interviewing people versus something like this where you're co-hosting or you're solo, just direct to camera, you're the only person. There's just a few things that we want you to be aware of to make sure you get the best out of your interviews, especially if you've invested in better production, because these are important interviews and you want them to be timeless and you want them to be really well received and look and sound as good as the content is. Couple pro tips we've got for you. So I think off the top of my head, I'll share a couple if you have any, and then we'll cut to actually showing you live how we do this with a guest. I'm going to mock interview one of my friends and clients who's coming in. So a few things, obviously you can tell right now we're in sort of a co-host setup because we're talking to you equally. We're not really here to just like chit chat with each other. This is like an educational style show. So this isn't really ideal for an interview, obviously. If I was interviewing you,
be like, oh,
and can you hear already? My mouth is not next to my mic. So
also
already,
we'd be very profile, just kind of getting the side of the face.
Right? Like this would not be ideal if I was actually interviewing Tiff. It's much more effective if your seats are a little bit apart so that you can naturally look at each other. Your mic placement needs to take that in consideration, that your guests are looking at each other. So you need to make sure that the mic is going to be picking up where their face is. You want the viewers of that content to feel like they got to literally sit in on the conversation. So it has a very different feel. And we're going to show you that in a minute with our guest. But that's the big thing right away that I notice is if you've never done interviews in a studio with multiple cameras and mics, it's easy to just be like, yeah, just put a couple chairs down and here we go. And then when you get your footage back, you're like, oh no, this is not what I was thinking. And why didn't I think of that? And so that's one, is think about how it's being received and think of an interview as like you want the audience to feel like they were literally just sitting right there with you listening into the conversation. And so you want to posture it that way and you want to do your step. We'll show you an example in just a minute. Another thing to consider is if you're interviewing someone, there's a different dynamic. And we've talked about this, I think, in past episodes of the show. You can look up some of the previous seasons that it's on you as the host to really make the guest feel comfortable. And a lot needs to happen before the interview to really set the energetic tone that they're safe, they're respected, they're heard, that it's a place that they can open up and share their best stories and their best ideas. And so you want to be prepped as the host to be able to give that. And when you're in a studio and you have multiple people coming in and out through the day in a crew, there's a lot more going on, obviously, as you're about to see. And so you just need to be aware energetically that the guest is going to walk into a different environment than just like, hey, we hopped on our laptops in our houses and had a chat. Like some people might be intimidated by the cameras or the lights or the microphone, and you might need to be a little more patient and gentle with them, kind of helping them get into flow. And, you know, the first part of your episode may not be the best part of your episode. And you just want to think through and be emotionally intelligent about the time it may take for your guests to sort of warm up. Some people will walk into a studio and just be totally at home and know exactly what they're doing because they have a lot of media experience. And some people won't. And it doesn't mean they're a worse guest for your show. It means you have more responsibility as a host to like bridge the gap for them. And that could take time, and you might just need to be more perceptive about kind of your get to know you icebreaker time. And you also just want to make sure, this is almost a whole other episode. We're going to wrap it soon, but you want to make sure your crew understands the ethos, the energy, the intention of your show, because they're present on set. You're not just doing it solo. And you want to make sure you've communicated to them like, hey, here's my intention for this shoot. Here's who's coming. Here's how I want them to feel. Are you on board with me? Can we make that happen? And really make them feel a part of your, I don't want to say intention again. It's like another word. You're enrolling your crew, because they're probably freelancers unless you're lucky enough to have a dedicated team. And even then they, when they're new, they need to understand it's really on the host to make that known and to embody it. And I'm going to wrap it there because we could go on for a long time. And I think we maybe touched on this in previous episodes. So
I think you touched on that though. Setting the tone for like the actual.
Cut me off now. We're trying to focus on.
No, but that's great though, because I think that's great, and that's something to be aware of, that it's hard to know until you're in those environments, because there are particular podcasts or particular episodes where things are going to possibly come up that's very sensitive for the host or for the guest to come in and talk about. And for your crew to be prepared, like, hey, this is the intention, but this is also the topic we may cover today, for them to at least know a little bit about the person that's going to be interviewed, I think is very important. And working with you on that podcast we were working on, I learned that from you, like all the research that you did and preparing and different things, because yes, sometimes it's the host, but a lot of times it's the producer that's going to prepare the crew and let everyone know and prepare the host for what's about to come and different things. So I think that's so important. I don't think we've really touched on that. Again, like Christine said, we're going to show you just some of the best practices and things I think about when I'm setting up for an interview in different environments. The one thing I do want to say, or just re-emphasize, is that this is a growing stage for you, especially if you haven't done it before. Even if you work with experienced videographers, experienced producers, the way you film it, the environment that you're in, the angles that you choose will constantly change and grow. The studio setting may change, the backgrounds, different things may change. So in your first couple episodes, I think we've said this before, but we recommend that you try to find people that you know when you're starting out to interview, if you haven't done it before and you're learning how to host. I think, and you tell us in the comments, I think Christine should make a whole series just on hosting and like the actual skill set you get to build to be a host. It's not like you just sit in front of the microphone and you're just good at it automatically. It's a skill. It takes practice over and over again. And we've seen too many people, in the beginning stages, to not emphasize that it is a skill that you get to sharpen. You might want to start off with a friend that you can call back in case something you wanted to, try again, people that you're familiar with. And then when you have those bigger guests that you might only have this one opportunity to film and different things, you've got some time in there, you've got some practice, and at least can come in with a little bit of confidence going into the interview or into the shoot. So again, this is a very long topic that we can talk about later in a different episode. Maybe we can do a special episode. We'll figure that out.
Let us know in the comments, because we could do a whole season about it.
Just hosting, goodness gracious. But yes, we will get into this next clip now and show you guys just some tips and tricks for setting up for interviews.
Hi, everybody. We're on set now with my really good friend and client and longtime creative collaborator. It's the end of the day, y'all. Scott Porter. Thank you for coming.
So excited to be here.
So we're gonna do a little mock interview so you can see why we set up the set this way. We're gonna pretend that I'm interviewing you for my podcast. Scott's a podcast host and he's interviewed tons of people. He could easily interview me, but today I took the reins and it's like, Scott, let me ask you a couple questions.
Love it.
So I'm gonna show you that in a minute, but we're just gonna talk through how we set this up first so that you can see what we referenced in the intro in action. You can tell that obviously Scott and I are postured now much more to be in conversation. We're not directly across from each other because we still need the cameras to see our faces, and you can see that, I have a lens on me, Scott has a lens on him, but it's much more of a conversational posture. You can tell versus what you saw earlier with Tiff and I at the table. So that's number one. And obviously we need to look like we're comfortable. If we were like stiff and like weirdly positioned, it would not go well. Like, people read energy on camera all day long. And during the conversation, right, this is the kind of things people do, and they get excited, and like, this is what people need room. So that's why a lav mic, if you're doing an interview with video first, this is going to be so much more usable, because if we had the nice mics right on us right now with stands coming off here, that would be awesome for audio. But truth is, like, we're going to want to be engaging, and the most powerful connection we can have is when we forget that the cameras and mics are here and we can just drop in. You know this. Fun fact, Scott recorded an entire season of his podcast in taquerias and taco shops around the country. So he's a revolutionary. But that's why lav mics are worth kind of a little bit downgrade in the audio, because we can pretend and focus more on just being in conversation. Tiff, do you want to come talk through how you've lit and put the cameras up?
Sure. We did this as a quick tutorial, so you might put a little more time into looking at the angles and the shadows like we talked about in the lighting episode. But overall, like Christine said, we wanted to make sure that it would be a comfortable position. You can talk, you can chat. So everyone is lit, right? There's a light on Scott, there's a light on Christine, there's kind of like a main light that's kind of filling in for the both of them. So there's more light on this than what we did in just kind of our single interviews. And then again, once we get the wide shot and we've had that established, a closer shot. So I don't want to get too technical, but these are pretty much like a medium close shot where we're getting, feeling a bit more intimate. And usually when we're editing or we send things to editors, these are the two shots that they're using the most. And it's just cutting between 1 and 2. And our third camera really ends up being an establishing shot and also just a backup. In case you have to switch out a camera, switch out a SD card. When you're using 3 cameras, there's a lot to keep track of, especially if you're shooting alone, or if you just have to keep track of a lot of stuff. So we recommend that you do have 1 or 2 people helping out to support, so that there's always something going. And then a monitor is also very, very important. I don't have it hooked up now, but it's just something to think about. This Blackmagic in particular, we could actually have extremely long HDMI cords and have all 3 cameras on this monitor to make sure that everybody's in focus and everyone's lit well. And just having a larger screen than the ones that are built into the cameras really lets us see all the details. So like I said, positioning, making sure the cameras are in a good spot, everybody's lit. And we put a lot of time into trying to think of some colors, some different things in the background, so there isn't just a plain white wall in the back. If you're at home, you probably want to throw some greenery, some things around, but you want to make it look as comfortable as possible. So when viewers are in, like Christine said, they're not paying attention to everything around you, but they're engaged in the conversation, but there's this warm feeling that you created with how you set everything up, how you lit everything. It's very important to just dive right into the story, and nothing should be distracting.
So with that, Scott, let's pretend we're hosting a podcast. I would love to hear this truthfully, even though we've had many conversations. Why do you get so excited, and what value do you see in creating media for your businesses?
Well, I think that the media is like the absolute vehicle, amazing, beautiful, engaging vehicle to like bring all of the storytelling to life. I've seen it with like video. I've seen it with audio. I've seen it with stills. It just like gives the life and richness to your message, and it's been absolutely essential for all of the things that I've been doing in the last like 7 years. With both I have a gourmet churro business, and that like brings it to life and makes it like desirable, and everyone like wants to know and wants to eat these fresh filled churros. And then with everything I'm doing with vitamin T and my tacos and brand transformation, it just helps. It gives such a richness to the story, and really helps people envision what your message is, you know? I mean, I view, like the video specifically and audio with the podcasting and the video series as well has just brought everything to life. And I know this is your world and what you love, and it's so true. And you've been such a tremendous like mentor and coach through that whole process of bringing that to life and helping tell the story in a way that really hooks people and gets them in and wants them to find out more, and so it's mission critical for us and for me.
Thank you. That was really generous and awesome. And I know it's true. I've seen you in action. I've seen you on location. I've seen you in a more formal environment like this. I know how much you've committed to that, and I've seen the impact on your business and where you want to take your businesses. Scott's a serial entrepreneur, so there's multiple things always at work. One more question just for fun, because I love hearing you talk about what you're passionate about. Tell me about, you're passionate about customer experience and creating incredible, unforgettable, magical customer experiences. Tell me if you can think of an example. I'm thinking of one, but I'm not going to plant it in your brain.
Oh,
how you
I'm open to a plant.
Something with like churros in universities. Like, how have you used media to show magical customer experience in your business?
So I think the first is like how we showcase those magical experiences and tell that story, because anyone can make churros, but we want to showcase like why our experience is so different and what makes it special. And we like to call it deep fried happiness, that we're all about having people, helping to create this personal VIP type of experience. And so the videos, the reviews that we highlight that we get and how we share that has been like wildly important for us in driving. I mean, we now ship our churro stuff online, and we have at-home churro making kits.
I have used one.
And you've air fried on it, which is amazing. You may have been the first to air fry. You do realize you're maybe a churro pioneer.
These are the perks of being friends with you.
And so we, you go to our website to where all of those products are listed and you can purchase them. At the bottom, we just have like endless, it seems, content of people creating these magical experiences at home, whether it's video, photo, even words. So sharing that has dramatically impacted our business and driven like results there. So that's one. The other one was the plant. So we're just about to release a whole video series called Churro University, with starring our great friend Kristen Metzger.
Shout out to Kristen.
And it's like basically every possible question you didn't even know you had about making churros at home, we will answer them in all these videos, like what oil to use, the difference between a piping bag versus a churro maker, how to make gluten-free dough, vegan dough, classic dough from scratch using the list goes, how to raid your cabinets and find the best filling flavors, all of those things. Bringing the churro making experience to life. That's why we're doing it, and that's why we launched Churro University, because we want to help people create this magic at home. And so that type of experience is what sets us apart from, just any old churro company that's making churros and selling them at your local sporting event, or concert.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that was our high-level breakthrough. I don't know if I'd call it breakthrough. Maybe you had a breakthrough. Some people it's a breakthrough. But we wanted to give you some of our best high-level tips about setting up for an interview, because that is very different than other kinds of content. And like Tiff said earlier, it's a skill that takes time to develop. So hopefully that was helpful. Leave us a comment below if you have specific questions, if you want us to do more videos on certain topics. We will always take your suggestions when we plan new seasons of the show. And of course, subscribe to the channel. As we've said in other episodes, this is the season you want to watch, not just listen to, although you're welcome to listen to it on podcast apps as well. And we will be having this season 3 available for your binging pleasure as much as you need. Please revisit these videos, ask us questions. Obviously, we're excited about being able to show you the higher production level that we've worked in for years. So we're here, and thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Think Like a Producer. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Think Like a Producer. We're so excited. I should say me, but I know Tiff has been a huge support energetically, technically, consulting wise about Worthful Studios and having this resource. And even though we're in Salt Lake City, we want you to come here. We want you to fly in. We want you to drive in. We want you to walk in. Anytime you're coming through, or if you want to come to the mountains, or if you live here locally, this is a studio that's a little different than a typical media studio because we come from a unique background and we've really made it video first, creator friendly, and it has everything that we know our clients need to make great media without the stuff that they don't need. When I came up with the idea for the studio, I was like, there's a gap. There's really great this, there's really great that, but my clients are struggling to find this. So we invite you to check out the services. You can email us with questions if you're considering a shoot or a session and want some insight about what the best way would be to book one, or how long you need, or what the scope of work would be. You can always contact us at worthfulmedia.com. We've got a contact page. You can go to worthfulstudios.com. That'll take you to our studio website. And of course, you can always leave comments here and we'll respond. But contact us directly on the website and explore what we can create with you, because we would love that. And even if Tiff is in LA during your shoot, she'll be here in spirit energetically. But you can always request her. She's available to travel and she's worth it. So thank you for watching, and we invite you to come create with us at the studio.
Okay, there we go. Interview, take one.
Dun, 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 dun. It's too beautiful and amazing.
Wow. I almost want to hide like a creature in it.
Right, so there's
Look
a
at
light.
Louise.
I know.
I was like, that's your camera.
I'm sorry. I was trying to think what I was doing. Okay,